It was about 3 in the afternoon on Monday, November 25, 2024. Dawn Anderson was finally getting the chance to speak with her daughters back in the UK. She had arrived in Jamaica safely just one day earlier, and she wanted them to know she was doing well. Dawn and her husband, who had picked her up from the airport, had spent the night in a hotel in the buzzing tourist city of Montego Bay, and now she was looking forward to getting back to her vacation house in Roaring River. The bubbly 64-year-old was in good spirits, but neither Dawn nor her daughters could imagine that this would be the last time they would talk to each other, and that in less than 24 hours, Dawn would be dead. After passing the age of 60, Dawn had given up on ever finding love again. But when she met 37-year-old Andre Morrison, her hope was reignited. The much younger man was strapping, and he seemed to possess qualities Dawn found very attractive. Somehow, Dawn didn't seem to care about the countless number of instances where younger men deceived older women, swindling them out of material possessions. To her, this was real. She was convinced that she had found her true life's partner in this younger man, and she must have told herself what many other women tell themselves, that he is different. But was he? Dawn, a British citizen of southwest West London, was born in Jamaica on June 26, 1960, but migrated to the UK at the age of 7. For years, she worked as a care worker. Now, her 3 daughters were all grown and were leading lives of their own. She wanted a more stress-free life, so she often traveled back and forth between England and Jamaica. There was something about the warm tropical land of her birth that gave her peace and happiness. After years of traveling back and forth to Jamaica, spending months at a time, Dawn purchased a home in a place called Roaring River in Petersfield, Westmoreland. She was quite happy about this accomplishment. Now she had a place to call her own in paradise. Just before the pandemic, Dawn needed to do some work on her house, so she hired a man known as Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith, a contractor, brought along with him his stepson, Andre Morrison. Andre seemed to be a decent man, working hard to provide for his 4 children, including a young son with disabilities. Dawn took a liking to the younger man, and soon they would become a couple. During the months that Dawn spent in Jamaica, she made a living by sourcing African clothing from Ghana and selling them to tourists and just about anyone who would be interested. As time passed, Andre became Dawn's right-hand man, and before long, he was fully involved in the business as well. Andre moved into Dawn's house, and she even bought a car which was insured in his name. Though an unlikely pair, Dawn 64 and Andre 37, from the outside the couple seemed to be getting along well. During the months Dawn stayed in Jamaica, they regularly attended the local church together, where bubbly Dawn was a popular and colorful figure, and Andre an active member. Two days after Dawn arrived in Jamaica, the day after she had spoken with her daughters, they received a shocking call. It was Andre. Dawn was missing. According to Andre, he had dropped off their mother in Negril to meet with someone who was interested in purchasing goods from her, and when he returned that same day to pick her up, she was nowhere to be found. He told them that he had made a missing person report to the police station in Negril. Dawn's daughters tried desperately to reach their mother by phone, but all calls to both her phones went unanswered. They felt helpless. After all, they were thousands of miles away from Jamaica. Where could their mother be? The day after Dawn's daughters received the dreaded call, a relative checked with the police station in Negril and found out that Andre, who had portrayed himself as a concerned husband, had in fact not made the missing person report which he claimed he had. This was rather suspicious. In addition, Dawn's family was no longer able to reach Andre. This compounded their fears. Soon it became clear that Dawn did not truly know her husband or the family from which he came. Word on the street is that this family was no upstanding beacon in the community, and that they were known to defend the criminal acts of Andre and his brother. Andre married Dawn without telling her he had been a murder suspect and was a gang member dubbed Mantis. In 2004, 17-year-old Andre Morrison and his brother were held by the Trelawney police for possession of an illegal gun. Later that year, they, along with 2 other inmates, escaped from lockup by removing parts of the ceiling in the cell. In January 2012, at age 26, Andre and his brother were once again on the police radar. This time, they were both listed on the Trelawney Police Most Wanted list for wounding with intent in the parish. He was later held by Montego Bay police under a fictitious name for murder charges, but was released due to lack of evidence. The more details investigations uncovered, the more unlikely it became that Dawn would ever be found alive. And with each passing day, the family's hopes dwindled, especially after a source said that Andre had confided in them, saying that sometimes he felt like he wanted to, quote, do away with Dawn. It is said that days before Dawn even arrived on the island, he purchased gloves and a blue tarpaulin from a hardware store. Eight days after the British grand and great-grandmother went missing, the search for Dawn Anderson came to a bitter end when her family's worst fears were realized. On December 2, a body clad in a tribal printed dress was found buried in a shallow grave in a place called Food Farm Common in Withorn, Westmoreland. It was Dawn. She was found with a chop wound to the head. As is customary in a case such as this, investigators must interrogate those closest to the victim. In this case, the spouse. But Andre Morrison was nowhere to be found. He had married Dawn 9 months earlier and now he had completely moved out of the house. All his belongings were gone, and it seems he wasn't alone. His partner in crime, his brother, had also disappeared. Within days of Dawn's body being found, the mother and the sister of the Morrison brothers were detained by the police for questioning. As it turns out, they were both at Dawn's house after she had gone missing, and they were not the only ones to be taken into custody. A friend of Andre's was found in possession of Dawn's 5 suitcases that she arrived with. He said Andre had asked him to keep them the day after Dawn went missing. The story of the missing then murdered 64-year-old woman who had married a much younger man attracted a lot of attention from the public. Many were quick to judge, and with that came many theories as to the reason why she might have been killed. One of the theories is that it was an act of revenge. Andre had allegedly gotten a woman pregnant, and that woman found out she had been infected with HIV. Many believe Andre in turn blamed Dawn, saying he had contracted the virus from her. Some say greed was the motive for her death, and that Andre had planned to inherit Dawn's possessions. But whatever the reason, Dawn is dead, and her family is left behind to live with the pain of losing their loved one in such a gruesome way. The police is still on the hunt to find those who committed this grisly act. Help Dawn's family get justice. If you know something, say something.